Not to sound cold-hearted or anything, but who is someone who died and had it coming to them? Back in the 90s, I read a newspaper article about a man who called his girlfriend at work and told her he was going to kill her dog. He took the dog outside and started to beat it with the butt of his gun. The gun went off, and he was shot in the head and died. The dog suffered a few injuries from the beating, but got better and lived. I laughed hysterically at that one. My boss was appalled at my glee at this man's death, but seriously, fuck that guy. The guy who manly bullied the whole town to the point where he was killed in middle of the town in broad daylight. His murder has gone unsolved. My stepfather used to tell me a story about a buddy of his that would always swerve to hit animals when he was driving. Sadistic fuck that just wanted to kill the squirrels and raccoons running across the street. So one day, this dude swerved to hit a dog. One of the dog's ribs punctured his tire, he lost control of the truck, and he wrapped it around a tree. My cousin got drunk and violent when his wife tried to leave him. He shot her but missed. Her father was with her and he shot my cousin dead. No one in my family said anything as tribute to him online. Not many family members came to his funeral. I think most of us were angry at him. It was surreal. Anyone who ignores safety signs in zoos. My piece of shit stepdad kept groping and fingering me when I was 9 years old. That went on for a few years whenever I was left alone with him. When I was 12 he tried to get me to have sex. I was terrified and said no. I guess he wanted me to say, okay, and when I didn't, he started panicking and locked me in the basement a few times. I was terrified and wanted to speak up but didn't for all the reasons kids don't speak up when they should. It was 1981. My stepdad left on a business trip and I prayed to God that he would please just make him die. A few days later, my stepdad had a heart attack and died. That was one of the best days of my life. My asshole grandfather Chuck. He was abusive, cruel, and a drunk that lived into his 70s. No one ever said a single kind thing about the man. He caused an accident that left his cousin permanently handicapped, brain, and decades of child abuse. Don't be Chuck. The rhino poacher who was then killed by an elephant and then eaten by lions. Edit. So sorry about the paywall, I didn't realize there was one when I linked it. I just wanted to show proof that this was a real story. Here's another article. This kid who bullied me relentlessly was shot and killed at a party in HS. While I don't wish this type of thing on anyone, it's hard to say he didn't have it coming. No, it wasn't me, I wasn't at this party. I had a bully in high school 2 years ahead of me. We were on the lacrosse team together. He used to beat me with lacrosse sticks, shove me in lockers, whip lacrosse balls at my head without a helmet on, verbally abuse me daily. You know, bully stuff. I told my parents about it, who told his parents about it, who promptly said I needed to man up and just take it because boys will be boys. Anyway, he and his entire family died when their private jet crashed into the side of a mountain. Good riddance to all of them. My great-great-grandfather, who was super abusive and cruel to just about everyone but especially his wife and kids. He was murdered by my great-great-grandmother and everyone in the town definitely knew that but nothing was ever done about it. My ex-boyfriend who used his lawn business equipment to cut up my dog while I was at work and had been putting hot pepper flakes in her food dish and bleach in her water dish trying to kill her. Fred Phelps of the Westboro Baptist Church died on International Happiness Day. There's a man in our town who died of COVID earlier in the year. He's been under suspicion for literally decades for various fraud and business sketchiness, not to mention abusing his stepdaughters. Oh, and he was a suspect of a girl who went missing back in the 90s and they've yet to solve her case. He literally got caught during a sting that was trying to catch people who were soliciting minors on the internet. Still never had a single charge stick on anything. When he died, the entire town basically was like, finally. Also, when my grandmother dies, I'll show up long enough to make sure she's really in the box and kick some dirt on it. At least if her evilness doesn't make her outlive us all. My maternal uncle who sexually abused me for years and my parents just let him get help instead of prison. He got on a modified boat that was going way fast, hit a wave and the boat disintegrated. He hit his head and either died on impact or drowned while unconscious. Either way, he got off way easier than he deserved. Adolf Hitler. That YouTuber who made his pregnant girlfriend shoot him on camera for a stunt and died. My mother's friend who thought cancer was a hoax, who then died of breast cancer. That guy who had COVID and knowingly went to a party to spread it, then got sick and died from it. My mother's uncle. He molested every girl in my mother's family. He died of prostate cancer on my birthday in 2000. Best birthday present I ever got. Anyone who's ever died from bullfighting. Or let's just add any idiot who unnecessarily messes with an animal and then gets killed by said animal. That guy who dressed up in a bear suit and tried to live with them. I mean, what did he think was going to happen? Any child rapist who is killed by inmates. Fuck child rapists. There's a Darwin Award for a guy that shot out the bottom of a very tall, heavy cactus which then fell, impaling him. My uncle molested a young boy and the boy's father shot him dead. My uncle also molested me as a child, so when I found out I wrote the father in prison and told him thank you. I had a daughter on the way and I couldn't imagine a world with my uncle still in it. Poachers. L. Ron Hubbard. Creator of Dianetics and Scientology and overall narcissistic conman. Edit, my first award. Thank you, kind Reddit person. There was a blind man in my town who was cruel to his guide dog. People had seen him hitting the dog in public before. One day, he got hit by a car and died. I'm not saying the dog led him into traffic, but I'm not saying it. The man who molested me when I was 3. I laughed at that man's burial day. My grandfather who died of different cancers after he sexually abused me for 3 years, age 6-9, among many other horrible things about him. The colony of ants who felt it necessary to invade my kitchen last summer. People are going to hate this. Everyone in Australia is taught to just leave wild animals alone. It's for a simple reason: they can be dangerous if you mess with them, but if you leave them alone, they'll leave you alone. Only 3 people in Australian history have died from a stingray barb. It's because Australians all know that stingrays can be dangerous if you bother them. So while Steve Irwin's death was a shock to the world, it wasn't that shocking here in Australia. He didn't deserve to die by any means. By all accounts he seemed like a wonderful guy. But he made a career of interfering with wild animals. If it was going to happen to anyone, it would have been him. As Norm Macdonald said, 44 is a ripe old age for a crocodile hunter. Jimmy Savile. 8 weeks ago in Ireland, a group of 3 well-known criminals were speeding down a motorway against the flow of traffic. They eventually crashed, setting the car on fire and dying in flames. They had targeted the elderly, breaking into their homes and stealing their life savings. Since the deaths of the 3 prolific criminals, there has been a significant decrease in burglaries in the area. I'll tell this story for my late best friend. His father had mentally abused him for a long time in his teens. Basically all through high school and before. It was so bad that at one point his father called into the school and said my friend was going to shoot up the place, which he would never do. My friend had been grounded for a whole year once, if not multiple times. A couple years ago, they found his father dead in his chair, alone and bloated. To this day, I had never seen my friend more happy than when he found out his father had died alone. I recently found out a guy the first used to work with died of cancer. He must have been in his 50s. Anyway, he was always a bit full on. Then one day at a work party 12 years ago, he kept trying to grab me and dance with me, grabbing my ass etc. I was sober as I was driving and tried to move away. I was 20 at the time and was tall, slim and attractive, so used to men trying to grind at clubs, and I generally just tried to lose myself in groups with friends. This guy wasn't having any of it and weaseled his way between us and full groped me down there. I wriggled away to freedom and went home straight away. The next day at work I tried to raise it and I was told, oh, that's just him, ignore it. When I read he had died, I just felt relief. There was a Soviet officer in 1968 who executed my mentor's family. His wife, children and grandchildren. In 1995, after the wall came down, my mentor found him in a different country, living his life in peace, completely indifferent to what had done. He knocked on his door and when the man opened, my mentor promptly shot him in the head and walked away. He never got caught. Passed away peacefully at the age of 92. Always did wonder why he didn't turn the pistol on himself after dispensing justice. I can't say I wouldn't have in his position. Mussolini. The little fuck that stole a bunch of my shit, including about 30,000 MTG cards, all of my old consoles and all the games for them. Just found out Sunday that he died 6 months ago, and not from the OD everyone expected. Apparently it looked like someone beat him to death. He really was a trash human. Drunk drivers. The guy who traveled to an island to convert a tribe of people that had never met outsiders. My paternal grandmother. People were literally singing, "Ding Dong the Witch is Dead" at her funeral. Only people that pretended to care were those she left money to. People who stand on train tracks. That flat earther, amateur rocket scientist, that pancaked himself into the ground a couple years ago in a homemade rocket. Jeffrey Epstein. Many that live deserve death. And some that die deserve life. Can you give it to them? Then do not be too eager to deal out death in judgment. Gandalf. My high school bully ran the marijuana trade in our smallish town. At about the age of 22 he realized that he could just start taking money from people and not giving them the weed they paid for. Then he got so big that he started dealing in the big city about 30 miles away. Well, robbing people worked before, right? They found him in an alleyway with a bullet hope in his face. Rush Limbaugh. May his first day in hell last 10,000 years, and may it be the shortest. The quarterback or linebacker from the high school me and my brother attended. Granted I was out of school when this happened, but major asshole douche canoe driving drunk and high as a kite died in a drunk driving incident. Other than tossing a ball good, he had no redeeming qualities to speak of according to my brother, his friends on the football team, and the parents of his girlfriend, who also died in the crash. Any pedo. You read stories of a parent, carer going to trial because they killed a child abuser, but you would be hard-pressed to find someone who disagrees with it.